Hey guys, this is Ash. Welcome back to the Rapid Onboarding Experience. It's rapid. We're now going to show you learn one, know them all. So learn one card in stratapp and you'll know them all. So to start with, what I'll do is I'll just go up to the profile avatar, top right, and then I'll go to settings and I'll jump to teams. And I just wanted to show you, this is a few more teams added to the teams page. So typical function layout from small companies. You've got executive and then the different functions, and you can do a hierarchy. So just showing you that. We've got market verticals here. So if you serve different markets, you can put them here. And if you've got people working in those teams, and they could be in more than one, as we showed you before. And then bigger companies will also have horizontals. So this is what we had at Accenture when I was there in London. And we had 4 divisions of consulting, and then we had an outsourcing practice. So you might be focused on the consumer market, be in the process consulting team based in Europe, in my case London, and then you could also even be part of the sales team doing outbound sales. That's what powers the collaboration in stratapp, as you learned previously. So I'll just show you those because we'll use that now as we go into the meeting card. We'll do the meeting card because it's got the most functionality. So if you know that one, then it's going to be easy to apply it to everything else. So I think we did a meeting on the band. We had a meeting there, review the list of bands. There you go. So now global search, bang, we're straight into that previous meeting card. So I'll go a bit slower this time and we'll just go through each of the properties and how they work in stratapp to save you reading the knowledge articles and everything else. So I'm the owner, so therefore I'll be able to edit all of these key properties. There's 3 key roles in stratapp. Owner is the person who owns the card. So if I come over here, you'll see there's me. I created it and I'm the owner. Now if I was to add someone else to this card, let's add Mary, and then I make her the owner, you'll see my role now is creator and assigner, and Mary is the owner of this card. In this case, I just invited her before this session. So she'll be with us soon. And you can see she's in Europe and she's part of the HR team. I'm in Australia, part of the exec team. So those 3 roles. So if you're the creator, owner, or assigner, as opposed to just being a member, so let's now, whilst we're here, let's add everyone who's in the US to this card. Boom, so they're going to appear. So you don't have to remember people's names. And you can also do combinations, right? So I'd like to add anyone who's in the executive team, who's also based in Europe. 2 seconds, boom, and they'll be added onto the bottom, right? So Mary here, we made the owner, and there wasn't, forgive me, it's a demo. There's no users in that combination. And then you'll see Amanda is a member. So that means Amanda will receive notifications from this meeting notes. So if you do posts on here and add tasks or make changes to the title, anyone who's a member will receive notifications. And Mary now, who's the owner, is now in control of the meeting. So I'm going to put myself back as the owner. I can do that because I'm the creator and the assigner, right? So you don't lose control. So if you delegate something to someone and you change your mind, you can pull it back and delegate it to someone else, no trouble. I could have made the other member the owner. So top left, in this case, we've got active, completed, cancelled, or draft. You'll see on the video, it explains in the case of meetings, that has a bit of extra functionality. If you make this completed, then people can't edit the live meeting notes. So if you've been collaborating here and there's live notes, and this is like Google Docs style, we can all edit it together when the meeting note's active. When the meeting's finished, you make it completed, and then you got a record. Not even I, as the owner, can edit this while it's not active. You can still create your own private notes and go back and edit your private notes and add more content, but you've got this set record of the live meeting note. Fantastic. And back on point here, so we'll just keep this active. Whilst it's active, I can run the clock. That's unique to meetings. And I can add a meeting date. And I can also set the importance. So there's 3 levels through stratapp for all the different card types. And there's also 4 levels of security consistent through stratapp. So let's go through each of them. The default when you create something in stratapp is restricted. And what that means is anyone in the org can see it, which is what we're trying to encourage. And they can participate in the social conversation taking place on the right-hand side, like jump in and say, hey, can I be a part of this? Or have you guys thought of this, etc., etc. So that's great for the leaders, but it's also great for everyone else, right, in the business, being able to collaborate and take an interest in work beyond what's directly related to you. The next level up is confidential, and that's where you have to be a member to see it, and any member can add other members to the card. So try not to use it unless you have to. The idea is to work transparently as much as possible. Secret is similar. You have to be a member to see it, and only the owner can add other members. And top secret lets you know that guest users can't be invited. So same as secret, but it's just another level up. There's no guest users to be invited. So let's just go to that point. On anything in stratapp, you can add members of your org here, but you can also add guest users, new guest users, to the org here. So you put in their email address, name, and then the guest will only see what you've added them to. So in this case, if you added a consultant or a partner or a client to this meeting card, they wouldn't even be able to read the source of where it's coming from. Okay, so if you added a client to this meeting card and you had a CRM task here for that client, they wouldn't be able to read the title, whatever you've determined to call them. They wouldn't see it, but they'll be able to participate in the meeting. Really powerful, that hierarchies of content, which we talked about on the flip chart. I'm going to jump out of this just to show you something that's not on meeting cards, and that is the tagging properties. So this here drives the filtering through stratapp, and we mentioned it on the OKR video before. So you can see here, because I'm the owner, again, I'm able to edit these properties, and I can say, for example, have more fun, nothing to do with outsourcing. There's no fun there. It's just the consulting team are going to have the fun. And that's a dig at my old mates in consulting. And then, and we'll let all the market verticals be part of this. And even though it was Australia because I created it as default, we're actually going to set it for all geographies. So it applies to all. So that then enables you to use the filters through the app to drill down on the content that interests you. And you'll see here that the teams that we put under the settings page are now automatically inside these filters. So there's all those functions, including those in the next level we put for finance, and you can see the horizontals and so forth. So then I could start filtering down on the strategy. Likewise, I can do it for the OKRs. So the teams you're a member of will automatically populate, and the ones you own. Or if you're on this page, you can just drill down and say, hey, let's just have a look at how's the performance going in the US for anything to do with marketing and sales right now. Bang, there it is. And we happen to be one of those. The tagging drives the filtering through the app. So let's go back to our meeting note, which I could global search, or I could just go to the workspace where all the meetings, risks, people, live org chart, all the stuff's here, including all the project workboards. We'll just go to meetings, and there's our meeting. I'll open it up again. And I just want to recap for you that the social has both structure and it's nested. So folks kind of forget this a little bit when they're replying. So if I say, and if I tag Mary now, because she's a member of the org, and I say, hey Mary, do you have any bands to suggest? And I can make that a question. And then I could also say, I could request a decision from, say, maybe the boss. So what, or Georgina is in charge of marketing. I could say, hey, what can we spend on bands for the mega party? Now, this is restricted, so she doesn't even need to be a member of this meeting to be able to collaborate and get tagged on this conversation, right? That's how the security, that's why restricted allows collaboration on the right. It's just Georgina won't be able to come in and participate in the meeting notes, etc., right? Because she's not a member of the meeting. So you got that nice distinction, and she won't be able to come in here and hit the gavel either, which is handy. So there we go. So we've requested a decision for her, and we've asked a question of Mary. So when those two go to reply, instead of starting a new thread, just remember to come in here, and she can actually tag a decision, or she might ask a question back. That's what most people do. You know, how many bands or what's the budget? But she actually might say, come straight in here and say, look, you know, 15,000 is what, bang, decision response, boom. And then sometimes you'll notice when you're replying to these things, so it goes down 2 levels. Sometimes you don't have to actually add text, right? Depends on it. This all changes based on context. So if you just agree, you can hit that button, bang. So I'm doing that all the time, right? Agree, approved, just hitting the button, bang, tagged, and then people have a written record and we move on super fast. So you've got nested conversations to 2 levels. Just remember to reply at the point you're replying, and you can socially interact, of course, and start a new thread for each new conversation. So try not to mix it. I've got one person at the moment who starts typing here and they mix 4 or 5 things, and I just want to be able to approve, you know, reply with structure to each one, so then I have to retype to let her know which one I'm replying to because she's mixed them all together. So anyway, that's just a training thing, and we'll get there. Okay, so that's the conversations taking place on the right. I'll show you one other thing, which is an exception with this right-hand side social. 3 of these tags actually create their own card inside stratapp. So you saw one before. I think I did tasks for you guys, but let's just say risk, right? So so parties in Queensland get a lot of noise complaints, you know, from people in Queensland. I'm a Queenslander, by the way, but dishing out on Queenslanders who love to go to bed early and get up and go surfing in the morning. It's how it rolls. So if I click that, and I can let everyone become a member of that, you'll see now that that's created its own card inside the meeting note, right? So you've got, that's going to then appear on our risk page with the source coming from meetings. And in one click now, anyone I'm working with here, so the members were copied across, right, automatically, because we left that ticked. We can now work together on mitigating this risk. And again, you'll notice the experience is the same, right? It's consistent and easy. So as soon as you arrive, you kind of know how it works. The properties are at the top. You've got some navigation. In this case, it's a slight change because we're looking at a risk, and socials on the right. It's always the same. So the speed of using stratapp, 15 apps in one, but it's not like 15 different apps. It's just consistent and fast. And therefore your ability to move everyone quickly, you know, excels with that. So we can say, hey, probability really high, you know, that the Queenslanders are going to complain, and we're going to ignore them. Terrible jokes. So we're going to ignore them, so the impact on our party shall be low. But what we can do is point the speakers away from residential accommodation. That's one mitigation. And then once we've nailed that, we can close it off, etc., and track what's live and what's closed, and add more mitigations, and again involve more people, assign more tasks, etc., etc. So, and you can just recapping, you can see this risk here belongs to that meeting note that we had, right, to review the list of bands. So you know when you're looking at the risk page where it came from, what the context is, so it's easy to manage, right? So it's not going to be part of our strategy tree or something else. It's an operational thing when you go to look at that risk page. So what else? So the other things to show you is the agenda can have sub items. So you know, go through the list. So we can look at the rock bands, jazz bands, right? And then you know, I don't know, it goes down 2 levels. So the noisy, we can look at the noisy ones and the quiet ones, if there is such a thing as a quiet rock band. And then I think the timer just works at the top level, right? So the timer works as you're running the clocks. The timer works at that level, so they're all grouped together, and then you can move the timer onto the next level. But as you're going through the meeting, you can say, yeah, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that, done that. Didn't get to that, we'll leave it. We've done this, now we're on to this. And you can then choose the clock to come across with you, or say we're still talking about this even though we've ticked it off. That's what happens in the real world. Okay, so yeah, the most used feature inside stratapp, you should really be creating a meeting card for every meeting. There's heaps of great content on the internet about why. So what I've been learning from that content and also working with clients and this project in different countries is people hear things, but letting them write their own notes is a different interpretation. So by doing the notes live and interactive in front of folks during a meeting, the clarity and power of that is fantastic, and you don't get confusion. And by putting the actions on the meeting card and being able to track them, therefore you actually get the follow through, right? So the actions get done. So it's the other big complaint people have, right? Lots of meetings, no follow through. Next meeting, still haven't done the actions from the last meeting. So that's all solved with stratapp. And then when you go to, just going back to that point on roles, if I go to the task page and I say, hey, what have I created that I've assigned to someone else? Those tasks are going to appear here. So let's just do it so you see the example, right? So let's go back to this band meeting, the meeting we had on the bands. We'll go to tasks and let's edit this task. So we don't even have to open it. We can change the owner just from here. So let's give it to Mary, go save. So she's the owner of that now. It'll appear in her workspace. And then if I go to my workspace and tasks, and I run that query again. So what did I create and assign to others? And there it is. So you're able to track what you've delegated. And not only that, let's say Mary is doing this and she's delegated it to someone else. So she would say, hey, what was created by someone else, Ash in this case, that she is then assigned to someone else. So you can track what you've delegated, that you created or someone else created, and you've kicked it down the line. So really powerful. In practice, this is really powerful functionality, right? And you also got context. But in practice, because stratapp is so fast and organized around the work, I find myself not going here at all. I thought I would to chase people up and track things. It's more like a second check when you're not sure. Really powerful because all the conversations are organized around the work, and the app is so visual, and what you're working on hits your own workspace. You tend not to get into that having to chase people up. It just flows naturally, and you can see just from the activity here what you need to focus on. Just seems to happen automatically. So it's very rare I'm actually drilling down and doing those queries, to be honest. So let me check if I've missed anything else. No, it looks like we've done them all. Last thing to show you then is, although we do have those help tips all through the app, including on this social page, so it just gives you the quick guide. But if there's something else you need to know, you can ask a question as I showed you before. And then if you want to access the help articles, just click there and you'll go straight into our knowledge base, and it's all organized around the different topics. And one article that I think is really good to read is this Key Things to Know. And it's a quick summary of the key points we've been talking to during this rapid onboarding, right? So how it works and what users are, the overlays, org design, security levels, talks about the roles versus guest users, a couple of key things with the meeting notes, which are a bit different, and then an article about the OKRs and so forth, right? So there's just a one-pager of the things I've been talking to during these couple of sessions. So you can look at this as a bit of a recap, but I'm sure I am more interesting with my Colombian coffee and Mooloolaba Beach background than reading a help article. One would hope. Thank you for listening.